My name is Seth Berry. I'm the state representative from House District 67, which is Bowdoinham, Richmond, and Swan Island. I'm the majority whip in the Maine House of Representatives. And I've introduced LD 1690, which is an act to prevent predatory signature gathering and ensure a clean citizens initiative process in an effort to make sure that Mainers know who is paying and who is being paid for their signature, and to ensure that there's transparency throughout the process. Right now the bill is before the Joint Standing Committee on Legal and Veterans Affairs, and I expect in a couple of weeks they will be voting on that measure. Right now there's very little transparency in Maine regarding paid petition gathering. We have companies now who are coming in from out of state. It's happening more in other states than in Maine, but that are using payment per signature as a way to essentially buy Maine laws. People can be paid $2, $3, $4 a signature. They are often brought in from out of state. They're professionals who know how to use deceit and sometimes even fraud to get people to sign things. And this is a problem that Maine is experiencing more and more right now. So just as an example, in the little town of Greene this summer, there was a clerk who was going through a list of 29 signatures. These were all apparently very valid signatures. They were all signed in different color pen and in different ways. And she was just checking through the list and making sure that they were all registered voters. It all appeared to be in order, and she got down to a name that she happened to know was a fellow who had died in 2004. And so she started investigating further, noticed the name of a friend, called the friend, and asked if she had signed. And it turned out every last one of those signatures had been forged. So the concern is, how many different sheets of signatures that were validated are in fact not valid, and how many clerks in Portland or in Bangor, and especially in larger towns, are unable to detect the fraud that the clerk in Greene could. This summer, in July, a national nonpartisan organization called the Ballot Initiative Strategy Center released a report card for all 50 states, and specifically the 24 states that actually allow ballot initiatives and people's vetoes. Of all of those states, Maine received a D. And I'm a teacher. I've been a teacher for 20 years, so for me, the fact that we received a D was a problem. There are a number of reasons that we received a D on our report card. One of them is the fact that we allow payment per signature at all. The concern of people like the Ballot Initiative Strategy Center and folks who want to see transparency and accountability in the process is that paying people $1, $2, $3 a signature is an incentive to fraud and an incentive to deceit. There are states that actually ban payment per signature altogether. My bill doesn't change that, but it does introduce some basic transparency measures that would allow Maine people to decide for themselves whether a person who was collecting their signature was doing so for the right reasons. In 2008, there were special interests that paid $3.9 million to overturn a new law that gave health care to thousands of Mainers. And during the signature gathering phase, for 2 months, those organizations with out-of-state money were paying $2,000 a day for Maine signatures to get that issue on the ballot. So the sole purpose of LD 1690 is to ensure that Mainers have accurate information, to provide transparency and to provide accountability. It does essentially 3 things. One is to let you know who is paying and who is being paid for your signature. It would require these primarily out-of-state companies to register with the state before collecting signatures, and would also ensure that there is a filing of expenditures relating to paid signature gathering. The second thing that the bill would do is ensure that if you were misled in the collection of your signature, if you were lied to, you would have a recourse. You could request that the Secretary of State remove your name from the ballot. And number 3, it would ensure that when the Secretary of State has produced an account of signatures, that you as a Maine citizen, if you had a concern about it, could actually ask the Secretary of State for the list of names and make sure that they were valid. Maine laws are not for sale. The corporate initiative needs to be separated from the citizens' initiative, because no one, I don't care how much money they have, should be able to buy a Maine law. What LD 1690 does, first and foremost, is to make sure that there is sunlight on the process of signature gathering, and the Mainers know who is being paid for their signature, and have a recourse if they were lied to. Now, I've been on both sides of citizens' initiatives and people's vetoes, and my biggest concern is that people can trust in the direct democracy that the citizens' initiative and the people's veto provides. This is not about Republican initiatives or Democratic initiatives or Green initiatives. It's not about any one issue that we see on our ballot. At the end of the day, this is about making sure that the process of signature gathering is honest and transparent, so that we can trust again in the integrity of that process, and make sure that grassroots initiatives can be done here in Maine, and people know they can trust in the person who's trying to get their signature.